Welcome to the Clearly Worthy podcast. Are you ready to embark on a transformative journey towards embracing your worthiness and creating extraordinary success? I am your host, Allison Lacusier, a certified professional coach, a professional speaker, and a female founder. As a passionate advocate for women's empowerment, I've dedicated my career to helping individuals like you unlock their true potential, cultivate unwavering confidence, and live a life aligned with their deepest desires. With years of experience in the coaching industry, I've witnessed firsthand the incredible transformation that occurs when we tap into our worthiness and step into our power. Throughout this podcast, I'll be your guide, sharing insights, tools, and strategies to help you navigate the path towards unshakable self-confidence and fulfillment. Drawing from my own journey as a successful business owner, I'll provide you with practical advice, actionable steps, and thought-provoking conversations with industry leaders. From overcoming self-doubt to setting and achieving audacious goals, we'll explore a wide range of topics designed to empower you to embrace your worthiness in every step of your life. Through these engaging interviews and solo episodes, I'll share my experiences, lessons learned, and wisdom gained from our remarkable guests who have achieved remarkable success in their respective fields. So if you're ready to leave self-doubt behind, step into your authenticity, and thrive as the empowered woman that you are, then this podcast is for you. It's time to claim your worth, align with your purpose, and manifest the success you desire. I'm thrilled to have you join me on this empowering adventure. Welcome to the Clearly Worthy podcast. Welcome to the Clearly Worthy podcast. It is your host, Allison Lacusier, and I have an incredible, amazing, beautiful guest on today, Melissa Barlock from Enspire Dental Opportunities. Welcome to the show, Melissa.
Thank you so much for having me today. I'm super excited about this conversation.
Oh my gosh, me too. Even just in our kind of like pre-show discussions, I was like really excited to dig into our topic today. But first, can you introduce yourself to the women and the gentlemen that are listeners and supporters of the Clearly Worthy podcast?
Sure. Well, first of all, as I mentioned to you a few moments ago, apologies for my voice. I don't always sound like this. I'm getting over laryngitis, but I'm totally fine. I feel okay. And in the spirit of authenticity, I wanted to continue with this because, we scheduled this. I was looking forward to it, and things don't always go the way that we want it to. And that's just being you. And that's I'm all about authenticity. So I'm like you said, Melissa Barlock. I own a company, Enspire Dental Opportunities. And I have two wonderful kids, 14-year-old Lauren and 16-year-old Braden. They're definitely the light of my life and a huge why I do what I do and why I wanted to have my own business, because I wanted to be able to have flexibility in my life. How do I introduce myself? That's kind of me in a broad overview. There's so much more, obviously, but a quick introduction. I'm a mom of two kids, entrepreneur, businesswoman, friend, daughter, and hopefully an educator and mentor to many people that I hope to inspire.
I love that. And I think it's hilarious sometimes when someone says, tell us your story, and you're like, which one? There's so many.
Yeah. Well, like when people say, what do you do? You're at a networking event or a party. It's like, hey, so what do you do? And it's like, gosh, like, what don't I do? What part of me do you want to know what I do?
Exactly. I think that's one of the gifts of being a woman, is that we are multifaceted, multi-talented, multi-dimensional, and that's just part of our feminism. It's part of who we are. So share with me this. Tell me about your entrepreneur journey, like starting into entrepreneurship, starting your company. Tell me about that evolution.
Okay, that's a great question, and something that I've often pondered, because I've been asked this question a few times about where did you start your entrepreneurial journey? And I don't know exactly when I even realized that I was an entrepreneur. I suppose I was probably an entrepreneur, for most of my life, but didn't realize it until, later on in life, when I started taking more risks and starting obviously to work for myself. But I think, so I'm going to take you back a little bit. So my background is, business. I took business admin in school, and I had a sales and marketing career, and I was working for a company, and I really loved the freedom and flexibility of sales because I was on the road. I wasn't behind a desk. I've never been one to like to sit behind a desk. I like doing multiple things. You said multifaceted, like that is definitely me to a T. There's so many things that I want to do and that I feel like I'm capable to do that it's hard to really focus in on one. And I think that's a trait of entrepreneurship. So there's that. Starting off in sales and marketing, I ended up meeting my now ex-husband. We talked about how deep do you want to go? Well, I guess we're going there. So I met my husband, my soon-to-be husband at the time we got married. I had two beautiful kids. We had two beautiful kids, and I ended up leaving that career to stay at home with the kids. And I absolutely love being a mom. Like I can't imagine where I would be. I would have, a million kids if it meant that I could sleep through the night, but that wasn't the case. So two is enough for me. But so had the two kids, left my corporate career to stay at home with the kids, loved it, loved every moment. But there was also a part of me that I was missing that feeling of myself and also giving back. And although we pour everything to our kids, there is that kind of networking and connection and community that I was missing. So while I was at home with the kids, my girlfriends and we started a mommies group, and it grew into, over 750 women in the Oakville area. Actually, I was living in Oakville at the time, Oakville, Ontario. And it was just a community group. And we had a lot of businesses starting to reach out to us saying, hey, like, we want to sponsor your group. And we're thinking, we're not in this to make money. We're in this for community and, support and helping other people. And so, we formed this group and we started taking sponsorships and pouring it back into the group. So from there, I was invited by a friend up at our cottage at the time to go to a networking event. And I had the two kids at the time, they were 2 and 4. And she said, my sister-in-law, she's invited me to this event. It's a network marketing event. And I didn't really know much about network marketing at the time. And I didn't know anything, to me, it was like, oh yeah, I'm not interested. It's one of those pyramid things. And I kind of stuck my nose up at it. And I said, thanks, but no thanks. And she said, listen, I'm going to go. Let me take you out for a drink afterwards and we'll make it like a girls' night. So I thought, sure, you know what? I'll go, twist my arm. So we go to this event and it turns out that I fell in love. And by the way, this isn't a pitch. This is my segue into what happened. So anyway, so I really love this kind of concept, and the whole idea, behind it was relationship marketing and connection. And that's how I gravitated towards it. So I, fell in love, came back to home to my husband to say, hey, I've got this really cool thing that I want to do. And he's like, really, you're never going to make any money at this thing. So that was kind of the like, all right, watch me. So I end up, just showing and sharing this. It was a greeting card and gifting system to my friends. And obviously I had a pretty large network of moms at the time. I would host like mommy and me get-togethers and, like mompreneur get-togethers with the moms. And we'd have like coffee and the babies and the kids and all this kind of stuff. And slowly but surely over the next few years, I end up growing networks of thousands of people within this company. And I start promoting through the ranks. So I ended up being one of the fastest growing Eagles. It was the top of the company. And it's an American-based company. And so, within a few short years, I've become an Eagle top income earner of the company. And I'm flying all around North America and Singapore and Canada to do trainings to people on how I'm training my team and doing what I'm doing for recruitment and sales and training and development and relationship marketing and all these things. And so I had a lot of clients who were realtors, mortgage brokers, financial advisors, and dentists. Okay, so this is where I kind of leading into where I came to. And so I realized that, through all of this, while I was stay-at-home mom, that I had all these entrepreneurial ideas. Like I wasn't normal. I wasn't the same as everybody else because people thought I was crazy. Like, why are you so passionate? And why are you going to all these meetings? And why are you, speaking all over the place? And you're supposed to be this stay-at-home mom kind of thing. And I thought, well, I love it. I love what I'm doing. I love helping other people. I love teaching. I love educating. I love inspiring. I love building teams. I love people who are excited and passionate. And so that's when I really realized that I was a through and through entrepreneur. And so here I was leading teams of literally thousands of people globally. And so that's where I think I truly started my entrepreneurial journey, was there.
Oh, such a cool story. It's something I've been really fascinated with lately is how we end up where we are today. Because it's never, you could never have planned it. You could never have been like, okay, this is first step, second step. It's like it all kind of happens in these like beautiful synchronicities of like who you are at the time, and it evolves in such an incredible way. So, oh my gosh, I actually have like goosebumps from your story. That's cool. Oh my gosh.
I did not grow up saying, hey, like I want to, I want to be in network marketing and I want to be, working with this company. But it was honestly one of the best things that happened to me. It was so much fun, and it taught me so much about leadership and relationships and community. And it was so wonderful. And so that was kind of my way. My next step was into the dental space, which is a whole nother story. So yeah.
I love it. Oh my gosh. And I want to hear like just a little bit more about dental, Inspire dental opportunities. Like, so you segued into that, like into dentistry, and like, what is it that you're doing today inside of your
Yeah.
organization?
Yeah. So if it's okay, are you okay if I share how I segued into dentistry?
Yes,
Because so many
absolutely.
people ask like how, because I'm not a dentist, hygienist, like I don't have any dental background whatsoever. And there's pros and cons to that because it gives a kind of a fresh perspective to a lot of my clients, but also shows people that we are so much more than we think we are, and we have so many more skills and skill sets that are transferable, and we have so many possibilities, right? Like really you can do whatever you want in this world, and you don't realize until you start taking these steps. And so while this was happening in my career with this previous company, I seemed to be on top of the world and everything was great, but at the same time my marriage was failing. And I wouldn't say it's because of that. I'm sure he would say that, but for me, it kind of saved me, right? Was my way to connection. Like I felt like I was shrinking in my marriage. I felt like I was shrinking as a person, and I'm not putting that on him. This isn't a male bashing thing at all, because we're actually in a wonderful spot right now, which I'm totally grateful for. But me personally, I felt like I was shrinking, and after many years of contemplation, I decided that I was going to leave the marriage, and my heart broke because the kids, right? Family always came first and still does come first. And so how can a mom make that decision to tear up your family? So it really tore me apart, but I couldn't see any other alternative. And so what happened was he became very unhappy and bitter, and and I don't know how deep I want to get into this, but he ended up coming pretty harshly against me in the courts for everything, for alimony and all this kind of stuff. And I was not the primary income earner. So I remember thinking, gosh, like I didn't expect this. What am I going to do? Right. Like I was never the breadwinner, but in the last couple of years of our marriage, like I started making really good money. So on paper, it looked quite fabulous. And so, showing that to the courts, it didn't really bode well for me. And so he ended up coming after me. So I needed a plan B. So I thought, well, what the heck am I going to do? So I ended up going back and having a conversation with a dentist who was a client of mine. A year prior, he had asked me, he wanted me to work for him. He's like, wow, you're amazing with the team, because I was coaching his team at the time on how to use this greeting card and gifting system to retain his patients as well as his staff. So I was teaching them the concepts of relationship marketing. He's like, listen, like if you ever want a job, like I'd love to have you for recruitment and business development. And at the time I was like, I'm busy. Like I've got 2 small kids. I'm running this kind of empire. Thanks, but no thanks. So that's when I thought, I wonder. So I went back to this particular dentist and I said like, hey, this is what's going on in my life. And I'll entertain the idea of recruiting for you. but I need to be my own boss. I can't work for somebody. I really need to be my own boss. And by that time, you talk about entrepreneurship, I knew myself enough to know that I needed my own thing. I needed flexibility with the kids because I'd been offered a whole bunch of things, as I'm sure you are. We get offered job opportunities. And a lot of times we just say yes without realizing that sometimes, you know, what are our core values, what's really core to us. And that's my family. So I wanted to be at home for them and have flexibility. So I said, I need to work for myself. So I will help you, but you can be my first client. And so he ended up being my first client, and I helped him with his 3 offices. He's got over, I think, close to 30 offices across 3 provinces now. And so, you know, obviously things started going quite well. I started getting a lot of referrals, had to start hiring my own team of recruiters and admin and that kind of thing. And so now I've got a national company throughout Canada where we help with permanent, part-time, full-time, and temporary staff. So it's a full service dental recruitment agency with extra stuff that has kind of come up along the way as well. So at the core of it, we do dental recruitment, dental staffing for clinics across Canada.
Wow, that is such a fun story. I mean, like parts of it definitely, you know, we have to look at the ways that we're going through our obstacles almost as gifts to us. It's something that I've been thinking about a lot lately. As well, is just like sometimes we go through really, really hard and shitty things. And on the other side of it, like once you get through it, you're like, oh my gosh, look at how resilient I am. Look at how, you know, look at how you were able to like think on your feet in that sense and look at the opportunities and make things happen. Like that's such an incredible growth that you went through. But even in that time, it probably felt terrible and heavy. But like on the other side of it, you're like,
Wow.
Look what I've done.
Yeah. Yeah. You just kind of, you know, it was such a wonderful opportunity and a blessing. You know, blessings in disguise happen all the time. There's so many blessings around us. And usually they feel uncomfortable at first, right? So I always say, get comfortable being uncomfortable. That's truly, truly where the growth is. And that is where the growth is. I can't think of any time in my life where I can say that I've had massive growth without there being either pain or vulnerability or something negative, right? It's like taking that thing in front of you that seems so dire at the time.
Yeah.
You say, okay, well, you know, what are the lessons here? There's always a lesson. There's always a lesson. And I can look back, and it's been, you know, 5-6 years now, and my ex and I are in a wonderful spot right now. You know, we're both in relationships where, you know, we're just better off. We're better people. We're better parents. And, you know, I've grown this business that never, ever, ever would have happened. I've met so many wonderful people like you and other like outstanding women and men, but we're focused on women right now. But, you know, just so many incredibly dynamic women in this industry. This dental space has so much to offer. So that's why when I'm teaching at either, you know, dental hygiene colleges or assisting colleges or the universities for dentists, you know, I always start off with a quick little tidbit of my story to share. Like you're in a fantastic industry with so many opportunities, and don't just stay limited, right? Like the world really is at your fingertips. All you need to do is really kind of recognize first and take the step and grab it.
100%. Oh my gosh. I'm just like listening to why you are so successful. Like, I'm just like, okay, there's that nugget, there's that nugget, there's that nugget, because truly your mindset is so powerful because like we're all going to go through ridiculously hard things in life. That's just life. Life is going to life on us. And then the power lies in what we make these things mean about ourselves. And you know, sometimes it's really challenging. Like when we're in a stressful situation, like physiologically, we lose our peripheral vision. It's like head down, just get through it. So we can't really see it in real time. But something that I've gotten really comfortable with over the last 4 years of being an entrepreneur is truly when I'm uncomfortable, I say to myself, wow, I'm growing a lot right now. Growing a lot today. Like it is a growth day today because it's just recognizing, oh my gosh, I'm going to get through this. I'm going to do a good job and I'm going to learn. And that is the of the challenge. That's the gift of the obstacle.
I love it. Wow, I'm growing today.
Yeah.
I love that. I usually honestly look up and I'm like, okay, What's the lesson?
Yeah.
But I love the wow, I'm growing today. I love
Yeah.
that. I'm going to use that for sure.
Yeah. It's really helpful because when things go bad, and like they will, it's just the reality. When things go bad, you're like, huh, this is me stretching and growing. Like, here we
Yeah.
go. So,
Yeah.
and you know what, you go to sleep that night and you wake up and tomorrow's a better day, and you just keep going. And I think that's part of being an entrepreneur, part of being resilient, part of what you said earlier, believing that what we want in our life is possible. And that, yeah, I heard this recently from a keynote, and he said, double your expectation for yourself in your life. You have an expectation to
100%.
be, you know, to be successful, to be an entrepreneur, to be a mom, to be whatever it is that you want, double that, because that's possible. And I was like, whoa. So, you know, we're capable of so many things. There's one thing that I think you specifically are have learned throughout this journey that I think a lot of women, as we were discussing earlier, need to give themselves permission for. And I would love for you to dive into that a little bit more, is giving yourself permission to, while you're going through life and struggles and challenges and just pressure and expectation, is to prioritize and focus on yourself. So I would love to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah. Yeah. This was much more of a struggle before in my previous career. I was telling you about the network marketing experience. And I remember I used to hide that I was working, like, in front of my now ex-husband, because, you know, when he was at work, I would, you know, do my phone calls, and because I didn't want him to see that I was taking time away from the kids. And I would make sure that I would like compress the time into when they were napping, and like really, like, it was in those moments of only when they were napping, and then when they went to bed, that's when I went back to it. And I put so much pressure on myself because I felt guilty. I always felt guilty. I felt guilty if I was spending too much time with my kids and not on the business and people within my teams. And then I felt guilty when I was, you know, doing the opposite, spending time, you know, in the other areas. There's, as a woman and as a mom, I feel like there's always this guilt, and it's like, where does this come from? You know, are we putting this on ourselves? Does it come from, you know, is it external? And I'll tell you, in my experience, it was both. I remember, and I'm not going to name names here, but I remember, you know, certain moms, they make kind of comments like, oh, like, you know, you're working, and what about your kids? And I think a lot of times it's women who put pressure on women. You know, it's us, and it's other women. It's not usually, like, it's not always the men. Like, we have it in our head that it's them, and actually it's not. It's this expectation that we have it on ourselves, and I'm not sure if that comes from other women, or if it's in intrinsic feeling, and that of course that nurturing feeling that comes over us. But we forget that unless we take care of ourselves, we know this, when we get sick, what good are we, right?
Yeah.
You know, when we're on an airplane and they say, you know, to put the mask on yourself first. Well, why do they say that? It's so obvious that you need to take care of yourself first before you can take care of other people. Well, why don't we listen to that advice? And until I started listening to that advice, I, you know, I don't think that I was really being authentic, because we pour ourselves out to everybody else, you know, our partners, our friends, our family, our kids, our jobs, you know, trying to do better and be better, and forgetting that actually, you know, until we can really take care of ourselves, you can't really fully realize your potential. And further to that, what helped to teach me that was my kids and my daughter, in that, you know, I want to raise independent, healthy, strong kids. And if I wanted to teach my daughter to be independent and empowered and take care of herself first, and then other people, well, how can I expect that when I'm not leading by example? And so that relationship with my daughter has really kind of helped to guide me and teach me. Gosh, we learn so much from other people and our kids and people in our lives, right? And so it wasn't until then that I started really thinking about her future, that, wow, like, what would a beautiful future look like for my kids or people in my life and other women? Well, I would tell them this advice. And so if I'm telling other people this advice, why am I not taking it for myself? So that's when I stopped feeling as guilty. There's still some guilt. There's still, to this day, you know, if I've got a dinner meeting and I'm out and I've got somebody else to pick up my kids from a diving competition, there's that kind of twinge of like, oh, like, I feel bad, I should be the one. But, it doesn't stay with me as long. It doesn't land. It kind of quickly goes to say, my kids are proud of me. And it's in those moments that you hear your kids talking to other people, or your kids write little things, at school, they've got these little projects, talk about your parents or your mom, and the things that my daughter and my son write about me, but my mom is strong and independent and she has her own business, and they're so proud of me, right? Like they're so proud of me because I've taken the time to work on myself, on the business, and they recognize this, right? So instead of always just being there for them, I'm raising independent kids who are able to fend for themselves, but also recognizing that they have parents and a mom who is, not just surviving, but thriving.
Yeah. Oh my
So
gosh.
that's
And how
important.
much is that teaching them? Like your kids wouldn't learn how to be independent and successful and forward thinking and a business owner if their mom was overly exhausted or, just like there to kind of like serve them in that sense. Like they are learning so much from you by you being your best self. And I think that's something that's really hard to remember. Even like I don't have kiddos, but hopefully one day I do. And something that I've recognized too is like I used to hold myself back from even just shining. Like I'd be like, oh, you're too sparkly today. Like you're gonna scare people, or people are gonna be turned off by you. So like be nice, or be this, be that. And I'm like, no, because if I'm gonna dim myself or not prioritize myself or not feel well, what is it teaching other people to do the exact same thing? We give each other permission to be our best by being our best ourselves. And that's inspiring. Your daughter is probably a rock star because she's just watched you be you rather than, all the things that you can share with her, the lessons, the things, but probably just her watching you and operating in your life. She's probably learned so much from that.
I think so. People do what you do, not what you say, right? It's so true. And I see that every day with the kids and the things that they do. Like they're a complete mirror. And sometimes it's great. And other times I'm like, oh, that was totally me. But I love what you said about we always have these gremlins, I guess, these negative thoughts that tell us, you're too big, or you're too bright, or you do this. And I've had that all through my life as well, right? Because I always feel like there's so much more I could do, but I don't want to offend anybody, or I don't want them to think that I think that I'm better than everybody else. And I don't think that at all. Like I'm always so worried, or I've always been so worried about what other people think. And I don't know whether it's age or wisdom or experience or a divorce or all of them, all the above, that kind of help you to recognize that actually, no, you need to be the best you, because at the end of the day, people don't go to bed thinking about you. Like they really don't. They like maybe even in the moment, but that truly is a reflection of their own insecurities. And imagine if you could reframe that, and instead of having those negative thoughts, having the opportunity to inspire people, right?
Yeah.
And that is such a gift to give.
100%. And something like as an energy leadership coach through IPEC, the one thing, like honestly, this was like the one thing that I learned going through that certification process that I was like, whoa. And it was looking at our different emotions on a spectrum, like on a tangible scale, and finding out that guilt is associated with powerlessness and victimhood. So really what it means is being guilty isn't moving us forward. In the moment, if there's something like, let's just say, I was frustrated and I snapped at someone, and I recognize in the moment, like, I feel bad about that. And then you're like, okay, I acknowledge that, like, the way that I operated in my behavior wasn't what I wanted it to be. I now need to apologize and move forward and not do that again. That's helpful emotions. But that low level repetitive guilt where you're just replaying things in your mind, wishing you would have acted differently, thinking of the things that you could have said, you're in the past. You're not powerful when you're sitting in the past. So when you start getting into that like guilt thoughts of like, oh, like I should have done this, or I should have done that, or like I'm not good enough here, I'm not good enough that. No, the more powerful question is, what am I learning right now? What is the opportunity here? What is this emotion for? Is it teaching me something? And if it's not, if it's just like, well, I wish I would have been different in the past, not helpful. That's not going to help us in any aspect. So we have to change the way that we think about ourselves and the past. And so when I learned that like feeling guilty because I think we almost punish ourselves. We're like, oh, I must feel guilty because, I'm not doing the perfect things or I'm not doing the best things. Like I must feel this way because I deserve it. You
Yeah.
don't, and it's not helpful. And so when I learned that energy, like victimhood, and when I say victimhood, I'm not talking about like victims who have been, attacked or any of that.
I get it.
What I mean is like we are victims to our own life by just doing these repetitive thoughts that are not kind to us, not helpful, not moving us forward, and are absolutely unavailable for us to do anything about them. And so my kind of request for people is whenever they're feeling guilty, is to ask themselves, what am I learning right now? And if there is nothing to learn, then allow yourself permission to stop feeling guilty.
Yeah. I love what you just shared, because you can truly set yourself free when you understand and you step into that, right? Like we're all going to do things, say things like that we're going to feel guilty or regret or shouldn't have, and you could should yourself out of so many things, right? Stop shitting yourself.
Yeah.
And but when you start owning it and taking full accountability, and if you need to apologize, and it may be apologize to yourself, apologize to somebody, learn from it, own it. It's amazing to see the confidence and the power that you gain from that, right? Like you realize like, oh, actually it wasn't as bad as I thought it would be. In fact, it's worse when you let it ruminate, when you
Yes.
stuff it down, and you're actually making it worse. And most times people are way more forgiving
Oh
than
my
you
God.
give credit for. We are so much harder on ourselves.
Yeah.
So like release it. And so, and that is what's going to give you that confidence. And it could be the littlest thing, Yeah,
Oh,
I just did a presentation yesterday, and gosh, we're so aligned in so many ways. Like I'm shocked that we didn't meet earlier, but we've met now. And so now we're connected. But I did a presentation yesterday, and I talk about similar things about, owning, really being accountable for yourself, being the CEO of you. Even if you're working for somebody else, you are 100% control of your life. Like imagine as if you're running your own U Corp, right?
yeah.
Melissa, or whatever that is. And once you step into that and start taking accountability and responsibility, you start seeing things differently, right? You start viewing your life differently, as opposed to kind of like an onlooker or a bystand looker. It's you're the star of the show. And so what do you want that to look like? So I love that you said that, really kind of owning and the accountability and the guilt. We all have that. But
Mhm.
once you can own it and step into it, it's like freedom,
Oh
right?
my gosh. And I think too, like it's almost as if we don't expect that we get to feel good in our lives. Like we almost have to be feeling stressed or bad or guilty in order to feel normal. And I think sometimes we've just memorized these emotions. And yet there is a reality out there where we get to feel really good in our life. We get to have a ton of joy, a ton of pleasure, a ton of success, a ton of friendships and love and all of these wonderful things. And we have to expect that. And so and this has been a journey for me, like this is a journey. But at the place in my life right now, I'm like, if there's something in my life that doesn't feel good, it's causing me to feel guilty or not aligned or just icky, that's a gift to me to change pace or to not work with that person or to stop doing that thing or
Mm.
to completely change. All it is information for me because I have an expectation for my life that I get to love it. And when you expect that and when some things show up and you're like, this isn't what I like and it's not what I love, the question that you can ask yourself always is what or how can I? It's
Mm.
not, I wish I wish this, I wish they would. No, as soon as you put it back on yourself and say, what or how can I make a change? Think about this differently, ask for help, give myself permission. You will always find an answer. And that self empowerment, I think, it is the most powerful thing that we have because we're always at choice. We're always at choice, no
Yeah.
matter what.
Yeah.
So we don't have to feel guilty.
I think that's a really, really good point, and something to really pause on and reiterate is that a lot of times we blame other people. As soon as you do that, you're giving your power away. Like you automatically give your power away if you're not taking full responsibility. And that full responsibility comes with responsibility. And it's
Yeah.
tough sometimes. And that's okay. That's where we grow. Another thing that I like to really share with people too is question your beliefs.
Yes. Yes.
Just because you're thinking something doesn't mean it's true, right?
Mhm.
Like a belief is just a thought that you keep thinking. And so think about that. Like I work on core values and what's really important to you in your core values. And if you're in line with your core values, you're able to make, better decisions, especially those big decisions in your life. And so a lot of times our core beliefs are based on the way that we were raised or
Yes.
the things and experiences that we've had, and they may or may not be true, right? Like they're true in your life, but why?
Yeah.
And so question that, again, I'm not saying they're right or wrong or indifferent, but really kind of question, like, why am I thinking that?
And
And
are they serving me?
and
Is
are
this,
they serving me?
yeah.
Exactly. And so instead of, I always say, like, change the seeds. So instead of getting critical, get curious.
Mm-hmm.
Because we're so quick to be critical with ourselves, with others, with things around us. And it's like, just start noticing if that's the one thing that you take away from this is really just kind of getting curious about why you think the way that you do, or why you had that thought, or why, like, I wonder why that is, or even wonder why that person did that. Like, I'm just curious, and
Mm-hmm.
take that criticism away. And that in itself just kind of, gosh, gives you such expansion
Mm-hmm.
and takes away so much negativity from your life. Just be curious.
100%. And like, just as you said, don't trust the thoughts that you're thinking all the time. Like your thoughts are not you. And I think that's an interesting thing. I tell my clients that sometimes I'm like, you aren't your thoughts. They're just thoughts. They're just coming to you. Question them. Ask, where did this come from? And
Mhm.
also similarly, I'll say something to myself and I'm like, we don't say that anymore. We do not say that anymore. And the cool thing about that is my little brother's a neuroscientist. So I validate a lot of the work that we do in coaching with his, science background. And neuroplasticity allows us to change the way we think. Like we're infinitely adaptable, infinitely changeable, infinitely able to remove certain aspects of our personality, which really comes from the thoughts that we think over and over again, which create our belief system, which creates who we are or our personality. We can change all of that if we want to, and if it serves us. And the only person that really gets to decide that is you. It's yourself. And so
Yeah.
it's really allowing yourself the permission to, one, don't expect that guilt is a everyday feeling that you have to live by in order to be doing a good job. You don't have to feel guilty. You don't. You can be doing a great job with so many things and not feel that way. But if you do have guilt, ask yourself, what or how can I change this, manage it, not do that again, adapt so that moving forward, which is the only place we get to go, I can
Mhm.
be better or more equipped to not experience this. So I just love your lessons, and I can totally see like why you have gotten to the positions that you're in and the place that you are, because the way you think, it's so powerful.
It's it's powerful knowing that you're powerful beyond belief. And this whole neuroplasticity, I'm so fascinated by it. I'm reading a book right now. Can't remember the author. It's called oh gosh, I think it's Outlive. Anyway, I'm fascinated by this because it really shows us that we have full control over how we think, how we live our lives, to what extent we want to be. Like, you were saying that, think about where you want to be and double it. Like I challenge to say even more, like 10x it.
Yeah.
We are so like there are so many possibilities, and there's so much science behind this now that shows that you actually aren't or don't have to be the person that you were growing up. And if we had an even longer conversation, like if you were to look at my past, a lot of people just assume that I've had this wonderful childhood and family life, and it's been all peaches and roses and strawberries and ice cream, and actually it's quite the opposite. And I don't have any ill feelings about it,
Mhm.
because it's given me so many opportunities. But there's, because we really aren't, we have the options and the choices. And once you come to that understanding, that is powerful. Like
Mm.
that's powerful beyond belief. You know, any situation you're in, you get to choose whether you stay there or you grow from it. It's 100% your choice. And what a gift knowing that, right?
Oh my gosh. I feel like you and I need to like connect for a whole weekend and just
I
like brainstorm
know.
all of this. You're
I
just so brilliant.
know.
So I really want to acknowledge you and thank you so much for sharing your wisdom, sharing your light, sharing your stories, sharing your vulnerability on the podcast today. A quote that I have that I've been really, really thinking about is we need to see incredible women doing incredible things to know what's possible for us. And so it's been my joy and pleasure to have you on here so that women can learn from you. They can be inspired by you. They can connect with you. They can learn more about you. And just thank you for, shining your light and being bold and sharing what's possible for us.
Allison, thank you. Thanks for having this platform for all of us. I appreciate you and I look forward to many more conversations.
Me too. If you want to reach out to Melissa, where can people find you?
Well, Melissa Barlock on Instagram. You can find me on LinkedIn, Facebook, YouTube, my website, enspireopportunities.com. Yeah. So any of those avenues.
I will have these linked in the show notes. So please go ahead and follow Melissa on social, reach out to her if you need any of her help or services or just want to connect. She's incredible. So thank you again. And thank you to all of my listeners for being on the Clearly Worthy podcast. If you know of a woman who needs more inspiration, wants to hear other powerful women's stories, please go ahead and share this podcast with her. And we will see you on the next episode.
Thanks, Allison.